Hey there, welcome to another episode of the podcast, and it is back with a vengeance. Questions from Quora. So if you missed the first edition of Questions from Quora, you missed a treat, because I have found the epicenter of human stupidity. I have found the Mecca where the dumb, the people whose humanity you never thought existed, I have found where they hang out. They hang out on Quora, and they ask the most dumb but yet brilliant questions. Because let's face it, when you're trying to think of content for fitness, sometimes you're going through your head about various different topics that you know people need the answers to, but you're trying to find a new take on it, a new angle on it, some way of answering it in a different way that maybe reaches a different set of people who are thinking about things in a different way. So you're always trying to come up almost with different ways of reinventing the wheel, but to give people true value. And sometimes that can be hard. It can be a hard process to think up all of these different things, which is why I put out posts on Instagram and through my emails just to get your voice. How do you want these questions to be answered? What are the questions that are rattling around in your head that you wish someone out there would answer? And Questions from Quora is that place where those new ways of thinking that you never thought existed are there. And they're there to make comedy gold content around fitness and nutrition. So without further ado, we are looking at 4 questions from Quora. Now, we're actually going to look at 5. We're going to look at 4 stupid questions from Quora, and we're going to look at 1 half decent question, which we're then going to go through and actually give you a little bit of value as well as the entertainment. But first and foremost, it's entertainment up front with Questions from Quora number 1. And I'll also say is that I have actually genuinely replied to every one of these questions. And I would say one of the Quora moderators actually deleted one of my responses to one of the questions, sadly. And I'll tell you what that question is. A little bit aside, this isn't one of the 5, but I'll tell you what it was. The question was, what kind of legs do you have? Now I don't know how to respond to that question. So what kind of legs do I have? I just put what any other self-respecting person would do. Human ones? That's all I could think of. And turns out the Quora moderators didn't think that was a helpful response. But hey, you ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. Anyway, let's get on with it. The 4 questions from Quora that are proof that humanity is fucked. Here we go. What do fat vegans eat? What do fat vegans eat? Now, what do fat vegans eat? My answer to this response is fairly straightforward. Too much fucking vegan food. There you go. Basically, it all comes down to calories, doesn't it? Whether you're vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, meat eater, whatever one you call yourself, too much of whatever food you like is going to make you fat. There we go. This was a brilliant one. To be fair, they're all brilliant, but here we go. This is a special one. Can push-ups, just bear that in mind, right? Can push-ups increase your height? That's a genuine question from somebody. Can push-ups increase your height? Now, I don't know about you, but the physiology of trying to do a push-up, how would that ever possibly increase your height? One's like horizontal pushing up and down, and growing in height is vertical. So even if an exercise could increase your height, which we oh no, won't happen. But let's say, let's run with this guy's thought process here. So there's an exercise out there that is going to increase my height. What is it? Well, it's not going to be one that's going to be a horizontal movement, is it? Really? Come on. A push-up is not going to increase your height, as is any other exercise. But Jesus Christ, man, can push-ups increase your height? Jesus. But we are just scraping the surface here. Scraping the surface. Next one. Again, brilliant. I mean, I just love how they word these questions. It's not necessarily the subject matter. It's just how they word it. It's like, this is the thought process that's going on inside this guy's head. Right. Is star jumps, I think you mean are star jumps, the most efficient way to burn calories while being stationary? Just let that sink in for a second. Let your brain absorb the brilliance of that question. Is star jumps the most efficient way to burn calories while being stationary? Now, the key is the part of the word that he's put in little sort of quote marks. Star jumps. Jumps. The method of jumping. Is that the most efficient way to burn calories while being stationary, i.e. not moving? So is jumping the best way to burn calories while not moving? Well, no, because if you are doing star jumps, you are technically not stationary. The most efficient way to burn calories while being stationary is probably just to freaking tense your muscles or eat less. Either way, go for that. Brilliant question, brilliant question. But I've saved the best till last. Obviously, I would do that. I would save the best till last. Now, this question is genius. Genius. Now, again, it's not just the way the question's asked, it's why the question's asked. Why is this even a question? This question, here we go. Can you eat without a mouth? Yes. Yes, this is a genuine question. You will see it on the video, so show you I'm not bullshitting. Can you eat without a mouth? Someone in the world has questioned that. Someone with a mouth has questioned, if he didn't have a mouth, could he still eat? So I, being the very factual person that I like to be, thought that I would only be doing my due diligence if I went to get the official dictionary definition of what it means to eat. So the dictionary definition, as I told him, was to put food in your mouth, chew and swallow. So no, you cannot eat food without a mouth. But hey, Jesus. That's just scratching the surface. We've got more questions for Quora coming. Now, the actual question that I'm going to answer slightly less sarcastically is a question about a couple of different exercises. So one question was, why is leg curls an effective exercise? And the other one is also about exercises, which is, why is preacher curls an effective exercise? So let's answer that. Now, let's look at the leg curl first. Now, a leg curl is an effective exercise because of three different things. Now, when you look at any exercise and what makes any exercise good or bad, is first you're looking at the person, you're looking at the goal. So let's say the person, no previous injuries, no reason why they wouldn't do a leg curl, and also their goal is to build muscle. Let's get that bit out of the way, assume that that's where they're at. Now, after that, you want to look at the alignment, the bracing and the profile. Now let's break down what they mean. So in terms of alignment, is how well does this exercise target the muscle that I'm trying to work? Now in terms of a leg curl, it's a pretty good alignment for a hamstring exercise. You are kind of really isolating that muscle and you are able to work it well, and the alignment works pretty damn well on a leg curl. That's not to say every exercise has to be an isolation move, but in this particular case, it's good for that reason. Then you want to look at bracing. So bracing comes from a point of view of how fixed is the rest of your kind of body within that exercise? How well braced and how stable can you create the situation around that muscle for that muscle to be, or the muscles that you want to work, to be the only ones that are working. Now, in a leg curl, in most machines, you'll be sat in a seat, you maybe have a pad that comes down over your knees, and therefore that provides the brace. The pad coming over your knees is stopping your quads from rising. You've got the bench that you can push back into. It creates this real solid platform. And as the saying goes, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe, which means basically in the building muscle sense is you can't fire those muscles, you can't generate as much force as possible from an unstable position. So you want to have your pelvis locked in place, not moving. You want to get rid of all movement from any other muscles that shouldn't be doing any part of this exercise, and really just focusing on what is essentially a hamstring exercise here. So you don't want to be kicking the weight, you don't want to be rocking and rolling around in the seat and trying to use everything other than your hamstrings to actually move that particular weight. So you've got the alignment, i.e. you're trying to work the hamstring. This exercise works the hamstring. You want a good brace points from a solid, stable base. It gives you that within that machine. And then you're looking at the profile. Now the profile is talking about, does the exercise match where that particular muscle or muscles are strongest and weakest? So for example, when you are in that position with your legs up and then you're about to curl down, as you then curl down, that your muscle, your hamstring, becomes probably at its strongest sort of partway through that movement. Then when you bring your feet closer to your own body at the bottom of that movement, you get slightly weaker. Now, any good machine, if you look to the probably right or left hand side, depending on how it's set up, you will see that as the cable goes round the little sort of cam, almost like a pulley system, should see that that's misshapen. It's not perfectly round. And what that's doing is whatever weight you selected is actually making that feel lighter, so that when you pull that weight down, the profile of the exercise changes to match the fact that your muscle is slightly weaker in that position. Because if the machine didn't do that, then you would only select a weight that you could move through that latter part of the rep, meaning the early part of the rep was very, very easy. And the profile in terms of the exercise changes from machine to machine in terms of how good the machine is and all of those different sorts of things. So some shitty machines don't really have any of that profile adjustment, and therefore you're not getting the most out of those exercises. So these things are important, but that's why a leg curl is a pretty damn good exercise, and one I have in my program, and I put in many, many clients' programs, because it's pretty much a very easy exercise for anybody to do from beginner to advanced. And especially if you're a beginner, it's very hard to get that wrong. If you're sat in that seat, you're braced hard, and you just curl that pad, it's pretty difficult to get that exercise wrong. So it's good for any sort of, whether you're beginner, intermediate, and advanced. When we look at then the preacher curl, it's pretty much the same situation. So you've got this situation where alignment-wise, in a preacher curl, you can make sure that the dumbbell, your wrist, your forearm, your bicep, your shoulder is all in one perfect straight line. You can adjust how you are on that preacher curl bench to make sure that alignment exists. And I would recommend that you do single arm dumbbell preacher curls, so that if you need to contort and twist your body to make sure you get that shoulder, bicep, forearm, dumbbell alignment, that you can. Sometimes if you're using an easy bar or using a barbell and you're using on the preacher curl, you're maybe not in an optimal position. You're not in that great alignment position. So that's important. The next part is the bracing. So when you're in a preacher curl bench, you've got the pad should be jammed up into your armpit. You've got your tricep really kind of pressed hard into that preacher curl pad. And that again creates a very good brace point. You can even use your other arm to kind of hold on to the preacher bench to lock you in place. And so that as you then lift that weight and you're activating that muscle, nothing else should be moving. You shouldn't be using shoulder. You shouldn't be kind of, leaning and moving. It's just locking that in place, keeping that upper arm pressed into that pad, and then just lifting with the bicep and contracting hard at the top. That's where the bracing enables you to really utilize your bicep to its fullest. Then you've got the profile. So a little bit like we said in terms of that leg curl, it's a similar sort of thing. So you're going from this place where you've got the angled bench down, and as you bring that dumbbell up, your bicep is at its strongest. Then you get into that fully contracted bicep pose type position. That's called the shorten range. Now that is where you're going to be slightly weaker. But effectively, what you're doing when you do that preacher curl, again, that dumbbell is actually feeling slightly lighter as you bring it up. So it's a good exercise in terms of the alignment with the target muscle, the bracing that you're able to create, and also the profile of that exercise. So that is how I approach exercise selection from those 3 criteria. Now, not all exercises will be 100% perfect. You'll get some that have great alignment, great bracing, but not a great profile. In that sense, then maybe you pair it with an exercise that complements it very, very well. So you have to kind of maybe in some situations, you'll construct a training program that incorporates all of these different elements, but don't expect to have every exercise has all 3 of those in it absolutely at 100%. Sometimes you have to modify your program so that you've got the complementary exercises. But essentially that's how you make sure you get great exercise selection and you get great exercise execution. So I hope this episode was both entertaining and at least a little bit educational. And of course, we will be back with more questions from Quora very, very soon. But for now, all I'm going to say to you is this. If you click the link in the show notes below, you can get access to a free 4-week training program, plus a guide on nutrition and how to calculate your calories and your macros. Also, you're going to get free recipe packs, you're going to get cheat sheets, and a load of other stuff. So if you want this sort of kickstarter to your leaner, healthier life, then go click that link, grab that pack for free, and go and do that training program with all the alignment, the bracing, the profiles already kind of mapped out for you. Easy, right? But for now, all I'll say is thanks so much for listening. Keep living the lean life, and I'll see you on the next episode of the show.